Today's session is about mobile commerce. Uh, Specifically, I would like to talk about uh, what have been our experiences as a company foraying into mobile commerce and where we see the challenges and how we see the way ahead for the ecosystem. Uh, I think first up, uh, I think what I would like to say is that mobile commerce is going to overtake e-commerce in India. And this is something that most companies and entrepreneurs in India have not yet woken up to. We have over the past at least 6 months seen such an explosion in terms of people trying to do more with their mobile phones. In terms of actually making purchases. So just to give you a brief introduction, our company creates a wallet mechanism on the mobile using which you can do the most common purchases of your life, including things like mobile top-ups, bill payments, buying a pizza, booking a movie show, booking a train ticket or a rail ticket. And this is something that our users have sort of taken to completely. So in that aspect, in terms of the type of users and in terms of the market that is growing, it's absolutely phenomenal. However, it's very important to sort of keep the feet on the ground and make sure we understand where we are right now and where this market has to sort of go to. Clearly, Android is the emerging market, and it is the emerging battleground in terms of mobile commerce. You will see, there's a lot of competition that has happened over the last 2-3 years in e-commerce. And when you look at m-commerce, nothing has really started. But, the writing's on the wall. 2013, all major retailers are going mobile. And to throw more light on this, I'll maybe ask Atash, who's from Home Shop 18, to talk about their strategy.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Briefly, what I will do before I answer the question that BP has just raised is to talk a little bit about Home Shop 18, and in a sense, why I'm here. Home Shop 18, we started about 6 or 7 years ago as a television channel, but with a very clear view that we're in the business of virtual commerce. And we expanded a couple of years later into e-commerce. And last year, we set up our mobile commerce division. In some senses, we're perhaps the only 3-screen virtual commerce platform in the country. Mobile commerce, early last year, we took a bet that mobile is getting set. The various components of the ecosystem are coming together. 3G, the experience has become far better. I think many more people are very comfortable working with Wi-Fi. And later this year, 4G services are going to become available. And the expectation is that the price points at which it's going to be available is going to be substantially better than the prices that people have gotten used to paying for 3G. I think Android is going to really play a big enabling part here. A couple of days back, there was a report out from Google that as much as 26% of their YouTube traffic, mind you, we're talking YouTube, we're talking video, we're talking bandwidth-hungry application, has now started to come off a mobile device. Yesterday, there was a story on 4G. Brands like Airtel are looking at bringing price points down to $3,000 for smartphones. Now, in terms of experience, Bipin, from May of 2012 to now, our share from mobile of internet traffic has doubled. I'm not talking just a doubling of traffic, I'm saying share of traffic from mobile devices has doubled. And I'm not talking small decimal point base, I'm talking reasonably large base from where it's actually doubled as a proportion of total traffic. So clearly, the customer is moving ahead of many of us. I think in some senses, I want to play the part of an evangelist today to many of you, because I think the ecosystem will happen. We have a part to play in it. I think brands need to recognize that the real access pan-India across multiple grades of customers is actually going to be driven by mobile.
I'll surely talk about payments, but where did you see clearly 2013 as the year that mobile commerce is going to take off in India? Or do you think that it's still, early in terms of how it impacts the top lines and the bottom lines of your company?
So, I think bottom line may be a bit too sort of early to speak about. I think clearly mobile, we are now getting into an investment phase. All of us will be in an investment phase. In many ways, I think mobile would help you realize more efficiencies from the investments that you may have already made in other sort of elements of your infrastructure and business. We have a large catalog, and I think this just allows us to bring that catalog to a larger number of people. So the marginal investment is small, but it is still an investment, and therefore, I think we will not discuss profitability for now. Customer acquisition, for sure, I think there's a big role that mobile is going to play. I think this year is going to be more about us taking the offering to the customer. The customer pretty much using mobile as a means of engagement, as a means of research and discovery. In China, as much as 2 to 3% of e-commerce is already mobile, and within the next 3 years, it's expected to cross 10%. In Western Europe, likewise. In the US, as much as 50% of traffic is originating, or more actually, is originating on mobile devices, and as much as 50% of smartphone device holders have already carried out a transaction on their mobile. There is a young e-commerce brand called Fab.com, and they reported this Christmas that as much as 56% of their business came from mobile. We in India will see a lot of these pieces come together this year. And it is my hope that we will also see a substantial uptake in terms of business sometime towards Diwali this year.
From our point of view, so we launched our Android app. Mobikwik launched our Android app, which is essentially a bill payments app. It's a single app on Android using which you can pay all your most common bills with a single click. And you sort of add money into the wallet and pay all your bills through a single click. We launched that app in August, late August, early September of 2012. We were, of course, have been present on the internet before that for about 2 years. In about 6 months, starting August, 40% of our business and transactions is now coming through that one app. And not only the volume of transactions, but the nature of users and the average ticket size that they transact on the mobile is double that happens on the internet. So we are completely, blown away by the fact that, what has happened in the last 1 year is 10 million Android phones were sold, right? And 2012, I think, when we are in 2000, I think 2015 or 16, will probably look back and see this as the year when Android really came into the Indian market and started taking over. So any of the executives or entrepreneurs, if you are really still evaluating whether you should go on Android, please make that decision now. I think you will be really positively surprised in how much potential, that platform has. And, the other thing that I want to say is that if our app, it became so popular without any spend, almost zero spend on marketing. And the only reason it became that popular without any spend was the fact that it really empowered the customer to do something that he wanted to do on the mobile. And I think that is the sort of approach that has to be taken if you are trying to go down the mobile commerce route. So as Atrash said, early on, everybody is investing in making sure that they reach those mobile consumers in terms of the presence, in terms of the catalog, in terms of the discoverability. But the eventual, the holy grail is getting the transactions done. And, and this is a very interesting, thing, company Home Shop 18, which is probably much bigger on TV than on internet. So I would really like to ask, do you think that there will be users who will really skip the PC altogether, and from TV you will be able to get customers to transact on the mobile?
Home Shop 18, I think many people misunderstand it to be a television channel business. Home Shop 18 is a multi-channel business. It's a 3-screen virtual commerce business that was conceived to be so. The investments have followed the customer. 6-7 years ago when we started out, there wasn't such a large traffic and business on the internet commerce side. It was only a couple of years back when the movement started to happen, and that's also when we started to put a substantial bet behind internet. And we are in many ways pioneering, as we did television, the whole mobile commerce business as well. And now for the advertising plug. So a couple of weeks ago, we launched our iOS app. Just this morning, we launched our Android app. And over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've also set up what is arguably the world's first virtual shopping wall, QR code-enabled shopping, which is dynamic. It's a shopping wall that we've set up at a marquee location, that is Terminal 3, Delhi Airport, that enables you to shop using QR codes, and it is completely remotely managed with dynamic displays that display video that allow a product to be seen in its various dimensions, for us to run promotions on the fly, very unique. So to your point, whether the customer is going to jump generations or not, I think it's in the nature of our country that we will jump generations. I think the pace of virtual commerce growth is just amazing, and I'm not sure how the physical retail is going. So it's not so much about television, internet, and mobile as much as about physical retail and virtual retail. And let's face it, physical retail is a complex, expensive business. I think our economic polity has ensured that real estate costs are what they are. Unfortunately, the infrastructure hasn't really been built to truly support physical retail beyond the top 30 cities in some senses. So virtual is the way that this country is going to grow. Given the fact that everybody has a mobile device and will have smarter devices, I think mobile would, in some senses, be the go-to device. And there are those who will use all 3 screens equally.
As a prominent retailer and one of the leading e-retailers or virtual retailers, as you would like to call yourself, In terms of the mobile commerce, what are the key challenges do you think that have not been solved yet, from the ecosystem point of view?
Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, things got really murky on the whole telecom regulatory side. I think that is getting sorted out. So, to me, they're not strategic challenges anymore. I think they're a function of time. They're getting sorted out, and I am completely optimistic that we should now be sort of recasting the question in terms of what are the opportunities and what do we need to do. Not so much about what the challenges are. The space which you're in, I think, is going to be a massive enabler. So I don't think there are challenges, frankly. I think they're all getting sorted out. You will have smart devices at 3,000 or less.
So I think, we are very clear, all over the world, users value convenience a lot. And what mobile allows users to do is to do things with a single click on the phone, which really makes one feel empowered, and that is the key. And that first transaction that you do on your mobile, that first purchase that you do, it could be a mobile top-up, it could be a train ticket, it could be a flight ticket, it could be purchasing an item from any mobile store. I think that is the key. So we have, at last count, more than, I think, 100 million mobile internet users in India. But a very small percentage of those have done any kind of payment or have transacted on the mobile. And I think we, at Mobikwik, we see that as a very big opportunity. The opportunity is really bigger for Indians specifically because our PC penetration is so low, compared to the China or compared to other Western developed markets. So really, smartphones would be the first device which would enable a lot of consumers to start purchasing things virtually.
I think single click is fantastic on the desktop, but on a small device that size, it is absolutely vital. I think my advice to anybody who's looking at it is to recognize that you're working with reasonably thick fingers and smaller devices. Keep it simple. It is vital that, as in all cases, as we all know from our, in our marketing experience, put the customer at the center of it. Put yourself at the center of it. You're all customers. A single click, for example, on our app, you can shop virtually from every page. You can add to cart wherever you want and check out almost immediately thereafter. We know there is some other work that needs to happen, but not just that. It's about keeping the customer engaged. On that small device, serving as much as possible. The device is powerful. We just need to find a way of fully harnessing it.
So clearly, so user experience is going to be really, really critical on the mobile. As Atash mentioned, the paradigms which work on the internet, how you sign up a customer, how you make him log in, how you make him pay, how you present content to him, all of that has to be thought just from the point of view of mobile by, just forgetting how you do it on the web. And actually, this is one of the challenges many companies face, is that they try to bring the same paradigms from the internet onto the mobile. And what is going to happen in India is that a lot of people will probably first have a smartphone before they have an email address, right? So, naturally, you shouldn't be asking for an email address to sign up a new customer. In terms of the number of consumers who are transacting, has just started. So, imagine, I think we are in the middle of somewhere like when, the likes of Airtel and some of the other guys got the license and we really got mobile phones. to start talking to each other in our country. We didn't realize it back then that, telecom is going to be so big. And I think we don't realize it right now that mobile commerce is going to be that big. Having said that, it means great opportunity for a lot of new players, to come up and create products and solutions which really work for the consumer. So with that, I think I would sort of invite any concluding comments from Atrash.
Yeah, so I think once again, Bipin made a very important point that needs attention, and that is the fact that a mobile strategy needs to be thought ground up. It's not a linear extension of web. It is web enabled, but it's not a linear extension. And again, the point is that the screen sizes are smaller, and you need to recognize that, and you need to factor that in and build. It may call for some changes in the way things are now traditionally conceived, the point that he made rightly about email for registration and so on. So I think carefully consider that when you yourself start to build out on the mobile.